Hey, Gabriel Blake,
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
where are we today?
Today, we're coming to you from our respective living rooms, still under quarantine.
Same as always. I had the feeling that we had done more episodes from our respective living rooms than from dive bars.
I would bet that's true. This was good motivation to podcast.
No, that's true. Better quality, I guess, on the audio, less background music,
Less
but
dive bars.
a bit of a misleading title at this point. Gabriel's stay in the living room to talk about cinema maybe doesn't have like the same punch to it.
Let's change the name of the podcast.
Nah, I mean, I hope that eventually we can just go out again. Eventually.
One day.
Yeah. So, what movie did we watch today?
We watched a part of Joel Schumacher's oeuvre, The Lost Boys.
The 1987 teenager horror comedy classic.
I had did not remember that this was a horror comedy. I thought it was just horror.
I mean, I think that the reason why I picked this before you even ask me or accuse me or
Tell
anything
me why
of
you picked
anything
this.
is because I never watched it when I was little, but I remember like just seeing the cover in those old video clubs. We didn't have Blockbuster. We had like just this kind of family mom and pop shops
Yeah.
for video clubs. I remember like seeing this on the horror section, but at the same time it was young people. I was feeling like, wow, this is pretty cool. This looks pretty cool, but at the same time it's horror, so I'm not supposed to watch horror. So I always felt like pretty curious about it. And I
Why were you
had
not
the
supposed to watch horror?
well, because at the end, I think that back in Spain, back in the day, if you were going to be signing up for a video club, you needed someone over 18 years old to
Oh, you were like a
represent.
kid.
I was a
Got it.
kid, it's like probably, I don't know, like 91, 92. So at that point, albeit I saw the cover of the movie and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. If I were to rent it, if I were to try to rent it, probably they're going to be allowing me to rent it. And then I forgot about the movie altogether. It's like most of the
Don't they
80s
let
cinema.
teens like drink at 13 in Spain, but you couldn't watch a horror movie?
Yeah, we have like different kind of restrictions. The drinking is fine, but watching a horror movie, that really kind of screw you up. So I always felt like really curious, and I have a feeling that in the States, especially people on this area, they have good memories of this movie because it was shot in Santa Cruz.
So this was for a while at least one of my mom's favorite films. Like she watched it over and over when I was a kid, and my sister and I even got her the VHS as a gift for some holiday.
That's cool. So years later, like many years later, like some kind of gesture. Oh, what
What do you
is
mean?
this?
We were
Well, I
like
must.
in the 90s.
Oh, in the 90s. Okay, so she was
Yeah.
no longer watching it at that point.
Yeah, she loved it.
Okay, well, that's good. And she's not from this area.
She's not from this era. Um, for those that haven't seen it, the film takes place in a fictional town called Santa
Carla,
San Carla,
I think so. Yeah.
San Carla, which is Santa Cruz. I mean, they filmed in Santa Cruz. It's supposed to be Santa Cruz. There's a lot of hippies and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're in the Bay Area, shout out.
Yeah, and besides that, I don't know if I told you this, but it's like the boardwalk in Santa Cruz is something that I always found pretty iconic. It was one of the first places that I went in the States when I visited like 12 years ago for the first time. And it was one of those points that I was like, wow, this is exactly like in the movies. This is how I imagine, like American summers in the 80s.
Yep, that's pretty accurate. I mean, I was
Yeah.
in Idaho, so
Do you guys have
it
like
wasn't
many
like Santa Cruz.
boardwalks, like river
Lots of
walks, maybe?
boardwalks, lots of beaches.
Many hippies too.
No hippies, but lots of rednecks.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. For me, it was like something that I wanted to give the opportunity for just seeing if it aged better, especially when we come to watch. What did we watch last week? There was also 80s. Oh, Manhunter. Um,
Yeah,
we also watched some weeks ago Mandy. That is a homage to 80s cinema.
it's interesting. So, well, which which film, Manhunter or The Lost Boys, did you feel was more 80s?
The Lost Boys. The Lost Boys
Yeah,
is
right?
so
Yeah.
80s. No, The Lost Boys is basically like the 80s, like a whole decade just threw up on top of you.
Yes.
It's just
The clothing they wore, I was like, what are you, come on, guys.
yeah, how they communicate with each other. It's true that they never say like tubular or rat. They never say
Hmm.
rat, but it's that there is some kind of the dialogue how they I don't know like just direct to each other that is like wow this is 80s. This is
So
100% 80s.
I did read the New York Times review of it afterwards, and it was funny because they liked the movie overall, but there was this line that said, "It's not timeless, but it's timely." And I was like, "Wow, how?"
That's no, no, that's pretty
Yeah,
accurate. That they're like
yeah.
pretty aware about like, look, this is not something that we're going to feel like proud of calling good after the 80s.
But it's enjoyable. But that's not my opinion. That's the opinion of the New York Times.
Wait. Are you telling me that your opinion is different from the New York Times?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I haven't
Oh,
announced my opinion.
okay. So please, just tell me your opinion or what
Wait,
this movie is
don't
about.
you have to start?
No,
Yeah,
just
you
start.
pick.
Yeah, I already explained why I picked this, and now you can explain what the
Got it.
movie is
Okay.
about and your opinion.
So the movie starts with a mother played by Rachel Weist. Is that how you say her name?
Mm, I don't remember.
And I don't understand how that woman can look like a grandma in 1987 and in 2020. She just looks like she's an old woman, and her eyes are so squinty you can never see her eyes. Anyway, so Diane Weist, that not
Yeah,
Rachel.
yeah, anyways.
Um, so Diane Weist plays a newly divorced mother of two children. One of the children is Jason Patrick, which, dear Lord, that man was attractive in the 80s.
Oh, that's the older brother,
Yes,
Michael. Yeah,
yes.
Jason
So
Patrick.
there's Michael, who's obviously like 17, 18, and then his younger brother that is played by one of the famous Corys of the 80s, I don't remember which one. I honestly don't know the difference.
They're all the same for you.
They're all the same. So they're driving away from whatever life they had in Arizona, and they're moving in with her father that lives in San Clara,
Santa
which is a
Carla,
big Santa Carla.
Santa Carla,
Thanks.
but also they're moving with their grandfather.
Yeah, but it's her father.
Yeah, her father. Sorry.
Yeah. Um, and then right when they get there, it's like this hippie town on the beach, very 80s California, and there's whispers of vampires, and some take it seriously, some don't. And then a young and plump Kiefer Sutherland shows up as the leader of a bad boy gang.
Did you just say plump Kiefer Sutherland?
Well, his face is so rounded, which was shocking because as a grown man, he has very angular features. So it was just weird to see him with what looks like, baby fat. He's not fat in it. It's just not.
Well, he was
Um,
21.
yeah, so baby fat. so, so anyway, and then Michael falls for a local girl who I like that
Star.
actress, Star.
Nothing
And
remember.
through Star, they get wrapped up into this world of vampires. Michael becomes half a vampire, which means there's one step he has to take to make it permanent. And there's a race to kill the main vampire, which releases all the half vampires, and comedy and horror ensues.
So I had two questions for you. That when I was watching this movie, it's like I really want to know exactly how Blake felt about it. The first one is when the kids arrive to Santa Carla, and the youngest kid, Corey, whatever, Corey asterisk,
Mm-hmm.
he says something like, oh, then why are we here instead of staying in Phoenix? Like just pretending that like Phoenix is a cooler place than Santa Carla.
I don't know. Maybe was considered like a big town at the time, and they didn't want to be in the small beachside community. It was clearly more hippie-like. There were no TVs, really. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
my question is, yeah, but I mean, he only cares about having MTV. That's the only thing
Right.
that he cares about. So my question is that you have San Francisco an hour an hour driving from there, basically. No? From Santa Cruz.
Mm, yeah.
They don't mention that it's Santa Cruz, but it's an hour away from here. So where can you get an hour driving away from Phoenix? Because that's probably what you want to do if you're in Phoenix.
Just get out of there.
Just want to drive away. So when they say that, I feel like, no, I don't know if this is timeless or not, but it's like, no, no, I don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was more about how they just didn't want to leave their old life.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like, oh, Phoenix is this amazing metropolis. Let's go back to where everyone is sophisticated and has televisions.
So the other point that I was like, I wonder how Blake felt about it is that the closing sentence, the last sentence in the movie, there is this joke from the grandfather about like, yeah, living in Santa Carla is great. The only thing that I really hate about living here is those damn vampires.
So I hated it.
Good.
And talking now about opinions, there were lots of things that I liked about this movie, but I feel like it jumped the shark at the end. The big battle went way too long, um, and it lost that balance that I thought that it did fairly well between humor and comedy. Uh, and then that one liner, I was just like, okay, all right. But overall,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it up until that moment. And I have to say, I think I'm biased because I remember watching this growing up. So I think I just have memories of watching it and enjoying it. Although it did scare the shit out of me as a kid.
I mean, as a kid, I can get it, but I was thinking a bit about it. I always have this feeling that the 80s were extremely violent when it comes to cinema. Because you have Robocop, you have Cobra, you have like many, many other action movies that they're extremely bloody and unnecessarily violent. It's not about like stylized violence from the 90s or the 2000s. Is that they're like just about being gruesome. Is I had the feeling that
Yeah,
this
I can see
movie
that.
yeah, this movie is I was just trying to compare it with the Goonies. About okay, the Goonies has some scary parts, like one or two scenes that okay, yeah, this is a scary jump, basically. But most of it is an adventure. And here I had the feeling that is a bit inverted. That there are like some scenes, well, I don't know, like more scenes that they are scary, and it's also an adventure at the end of the day. But if I was watching as a kid both of them, I would have nightmares for a day with the Goonies, and I would be like having nightmares for months about this movie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had nightmares about it. There were two scenes that really fucked me up as a kid. One is when he's eating the Chinese food and then he looks down and it's maggots.
Yeah.
That like horrified me as a child. And then the other one is when the vampires go to kill the people at the campfire. And at some point you see Kiefer Sutherland. He's not biting into the guy's neck. He bites into his skull and that blood squirts out,
Oh
which
yeah,
wasn't
that's right.
particularly well done now. But as a kid in the early 90s, I was like, I prayed to Jesus to make me feel better. I was very religious at the time.
Well, I guess. So you like the movie? Do you
Yeah, I
think?
did.
Sorry.
Go.
Do you think that it stands the passage of time? Like the good parts? I mean, there are parts
And
that
that's what I
those
can't tell.
shirts, those shirts, they do not
Oh
stand the
no,
pass
the
of time.
fashion.
Yeah,
But to be fair, when people our age now have 80s night parties, they do dress exactly like the people in that movie. It's like a parody of the 80s almost.
yeah. So this is something funny. I think that we discussed a couple of times. I think that we were watching Monday. We discussed about it, and I said that I found it like a classier homage to the 80s compared with Stranger Things. But now when I watch this, it almost feels like The Lost Boys is a movie that is proud of being on the 80s, that is looking at the camera the whole time saying like, yes, we are on the 80s. Yes, we are not in any other decade. We are on the best decade.
And we are going to be as like entrenched in the time we are in as possible.
Yeah.
Which typically I feel like makes things dated, and this definitely feels dated, but it doesn't feel like it can't go beyond the 80s. I don't know. Did you like it? You hadn't seen it before.
I had seen it before. I found it enjoyable, but I found it a victim of its time in a different way than Manhunt. I think the Manhunt was limited by being on the 80s, you know? It was a bit more like, look, we're going to be using some filming techniques that we should know better. And I had the feeling that it's like Lost Boys. They deliberately took decisions for just highlighting that they're on the 80s, as I was saying. And I think that those didn't age well. Is it, just imagine if, for example, if Manhunt was going to be like shot again, and not thinking about Red Dragon, is if it was going to be like shot again, it would be a completely different movie. It's like the source material, the raw material is good, independently of its time, on where it was shot originally. With this movie,
Yep, I agree with that.
I have no idea what will come out. I had the feeling that this is a movie that is like, do you think that teenagers could go to watch this? It's like, who are you, Twilight?
Kind of though, right? Because those two cores were like sex symbols, and
Yeah, but it's like, I have
Jason
no.
Patrick can be my sex symbol.
I mean, I have to say that looking at his pictures nowadays, he looks a bit like a pedophile. But if that's your thing, I don't know.
I'm looking up. I don't know who wrote the movie. Do you?
No. Let's just check. No, those boys. Feature song. Nope.
Jan Fisher and James Jeremias. Oh, there's like five credited people. Huh.
The thing is that this feels a bit more of a studio movie. You know, it feels a bit more like, okay, what is cool right now? Is vampires, boardwalks, and crazy search? They just make a movie about those.
Um, it's making me think of Clueless, which I know you haven't seen, but it so fully embraces the mid '90s that it couldn't be done in any other time. So I think it's like that. I feel like Clueless is a little bit more timeless, but
Because it's based on a John Austen
maybe that's
novel.
because I'm a '90s kid.
Sure. Look, I don't think this is timeless. I'm an 80s kid, and I had a feeling that is a look. This
No,
is
not at
good.
all.
This is good as a proof of what the 80s were. You know, not about like just Stranger
Agreed,
Things
but
or
there are some
Mandy
things that hold up well
from the 80s.
from this movie.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is like I had a feeling that this is a bit more of a testament, you know, a bit more of a proof of what the 80s were. The movie was trying to be what the 80s were.
Yeah,
And then there is a story on top of it. It's like it reminded me a bit of I don't think that you watched this, but The Wizard.
The Wizard.
Yeah,
I've never
the
even
Nin-
heard of it.
the Nintendo movie
Nope.
of this kid. What is the name of that TV show? The Wonderful Years, Wonder
The
Years,
Wonder Years.
Wonder Years. So Wonder Years. You remember the main actor?
Yeah, I do. Ben Savage.
Ben Savage. So he was the main actor in that movie, if I recall correctly.
Wow. The movie poster is just spectacular.
Yep, it is. It's
Fred
80s, man.
Savage, not Ben Savage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's completely 80s. So if you, I would not recommend to watch it as part of, you know, this podcast. But if you want to watch something really, really 80s, it's like this is it.
But I also felt that it also had some of the cool stuff from the 90s. Like it was right on the edge of the 80s and 90s. And so it aged better than Manhunter, which isn't saying much, but I was also comparing Manhunter to it because I felt like that movie was so 80s, and then I felt like this movie was so 80s.
Mm, I mean, the thing is that once again, I think that the material in uh, in Manhunter is better. So it's pretty hard for me to actually just separate those two things.
So did you? So you did like it overall? Parts of it?
I like it. I like it, but it's like as I was telling you, it's like I don't think that from an aesthetic perspective, it has too much. It has well, okay, it has anything to it from an aesthetics perspective.
There were a few things that they did that I thought were fairly effective. Like when you're flying, I mean, you assume that you're flying with the vampires, but when you're flying over water, I don't know. See, I can't separate this from the way these scenes made me feel as a kid, and I thought that was super fucking cool as a kid.
No, no, I mean I get it. I get it. It's like this is one of those movies that if you watch when you were a kid, you're going to have a complete different opinion from it. It's like it's pretty hard to separate. It's like it's even
Do
for
you
me
know what your
what's
score is?
yeah, I already wrote it down.
What can you just tell me? I'll tell you what mine is.
But are we done talking about the movie?
No, I just need to
Okay.
understand how differently we're seeing this movie.
I will score it a five.
Okay, I was going to give it a 6.5, so we're not too far off.
No, I mean I tell you again, it's like I don't think I mean the problem is that this a movie is such a strange movie for me to actually to evaluate because I didn't watch it as a kid. I can see my kid
It's
sorry, I
also
can see
very American.
but it's not about that because for example The Goonies is also pretty American. And I enjoyed The Goonies
I
when I
haven't
watched it
seen the
when I was
Goonies.
little. Okay, maybe we should watch that one other time. Like more 80s Saturday afternoon birthday movies when a parent is forced to just take 15 kids to watch a movie. Uh, but it's like when I watched The Goonies, when I watched it originally, it's like I love it. And I watched it in the 2000s, and I felt like, look, this is a movie that hasn't aged well, but it's still something that I can correlate with my childhood, so I can appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not going to be able to look at this clearly because I have so many memories and it gave me so many nightmares. So I'm just
So
influenced.
yeah, so the thing is, like, I love Santa Cruz. I love the boardwalk. I mean, I don't think that there is anything to the city outside of the boardwalk, but I think that the boardwalk is a very charming place. So I think that they did like a pretty good job of choosing the shooting location and just adapting it to what the reality could be. It's like when I was watching the movie, it's like I believe that if you remove the vampires, it's like this is what Santa Cruz used to be.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm not arguing with you about your score, but when I'm personally scoring, I look at five as being a perfectly mediocre film. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just purely middle of the road. Is
It
that how you
is.
feel about this movie?
It's exactly how I feel. It's like if someone asks me about like, hey, can you
See, and I
recommend me
would
a
say this is a slightly above average horror film.
but the thing is, when we actually apply the criteria that we mentioned multiple times, that we can each have whatever criteria we want for giving the scores. But it's like if I think about the aesthetically pleasing part of the movie, is that the only aesthetically pleasing part that I found, it was about like being made on the 80s and just being a testimony of what the 80s were. From that perspective, it's like
Yep.
those shirts are hard to forget. Then the part about like how timeless it is like it's not. It's just plain not.
No, no, not at all.
If I would recommend it, if someone were to ask me, like, can you just tell me movies from the 80s? I would be like, well, this is okay. You can watch it. You're looking for some kind of teenager Saturday afternoon movie. It's okay.
So uh, I was surprised because I don't like the combination of horror and comedy. I think that um, who is the guy that we completely disagree on?
Keeper
Buffy.
Sutherland.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer guy.
Oh, Joss Whedon.
Oh, yes. Like his particular brand of comedy horror doesn't work for me. This one did. I was like, oh. This is
Alright.
funny. The Frog Brothers, they were funny. They were super funny.
Maybe because Joel Schumacher. I didn't find that part funny. I found it pretty jarring. But maybe it's because Joel Schumacher is gay and Joss Whedon is not.
Uh,
That also, holy
there were a
shit,
couple
now
times, and I'm gay, so I'm always looking for this. But I swear, I
you're
was like, wait,
gay?
is this a gay story?
Between Michael and
I've been
Kiefer
outed
Sutherland,
by
yes.
myself.
No, and the other thing is like when we were just talking about this movie and I was seeing that it was from Joel Schumacher, I was just thinking, it's like, wow, this is a pretty famous director. It's funny that he actually started with a movie like this. And then I started checking all the movies that he did. It's like, no, this is almost his pinnacle.
Yeah, I know his name as a director, but I was like, I can't name anything that he's directed.
And the only thing that I could actually name, it was actually Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, those two movies, that they are
Oh yeah.
bad. They're just bad. They just leave it there.
See, I knew that I would have seen movies he's done, but in my mind, I was like, I don't know what else he's done.
Yeah.
He's just considered that like blockbuster average, can generate some money, but doesn't make good. Oh, he did Phone Booth. I mean, that was a stunning film.
Are you serious?
No, I'm joking.
Okay, thank
Well, he
God.
hasn't done anything in years.
Yeah. I don't know. Probably he suggested to make a movie about a homosexual love affair and prostitution in a gas
Oh,
station.
he directed The Phantom of the Opera.
He did. He did.
Wait, what did you just
Interesting.
say about prostitution?
I was just saying about the In Hollywood by Ryan Murphy.
Mm,
Yeah.
I
By
tried
the
my
way,
best to talk
spoilers.
Jose
Yeah.
out of watching that, but he sure watched all 8 hours.
I didn't enforce you to do that. And I
No,
watched
I'm
it
saying I
after
tried to
you.
talk you out of it, and you did it anyway.
Well, you told me that you wanted to watch it, but you told me also that it was going to be garbage at the end.
Yeah, I really wanted someone to understand what a piece of shit that TV show is.
I mean, you can go over it, but it's like I just have a problem from I don't know, like a conceptual perspective. I just feel offended from a conceptual point of view, not even from the content per se. It's more about like, what the fuck were you thinking when you sat down and you thought that making this was going to be a good idea?
A lot of people had to think this was a good idea to be made. A lot of people gave a lot of money to this movie.
Sure, but it's like, okay, look, it's entertaining. We don't have to go over this again, but okay, doesn't matter. But yeah, I'll give it a 5. I think that is not as good as Manhunter from the perspective that the Manhunter, as I told you, is a victim. The Lost
Of
Boys,
its time.
yeah, the Lost Boys celebrates that. Is that the Lost Boys, as I said at the beginning, is like someone throwing up the 80s on top of you.
Yep, you're completely right. I mean, I liked it more than you. Clearly, I'm a little biased, but I laughed. I thought it was kind of scary.
Oh, you still find it scary nowadays?
Not scary. I found it effective in
Okay,
creeping you out.
oh, that's good. So, anything else that we should talk about this movie?
No, but I would like to thank you for recommending it because it made me feel better about picking Clueless for the next movie to watch.
Are we really watching
It's finally
Clueless?
happening.
It's
I
finally
think that
happening?
I think to bookend it with another product of its time,
Okay.
the Lost Boys. Now I think we're going to see the Lost Boys, but in the '90s now.
Okay. So then my next movie is going to be a product of the 2000s that I already have thought.
Is it The Core? Because we've both seen The Core way too many times.
God, when I can actually just recite, I have never watched that movie in English before this. So to actually clarify, I have another movie club with a group of friends from Spain that we used to watch terrible movies, like movies that they are so bad that they're good. And one of our favorites was The Core, and we always watch it in Spanish. And this last weekend, we started doing a revival, and we decided to start with The Core. And it was the first time that we watched it in English, and I could just recite half of the movie. I'm not joking you. Like
You
half of
could.
the movie. I mean, maybe that was a bit of a dramatization, but all the one-liners that you were talking about,
You
I could
completely
recite them.
remembered.
Yep, I completely remember. It was like just hilarious about like this is what he says in Spanish, and that's how it actually translated to English. It was just weird.
I might just expose that I'm gay here, but I recently rewatched Bring It On, the cheerleading movie that I really liked in high school.
With
I
Emma
knew
Stone?
with Kristen Dunst.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
I knew an alarming amount of the lyrics still to that movie, like 20 years later, and I was like, wow, how the people in my high school didn't catch on.
Catch on with you being gay.
Yeah, I mean, I had Madonna in my car. Wait, don't laugh. You had that album.
I had a, but I was older. I had an excuse.
Older. I was 16. Oh, you did it when it was.
Yeah, when it was
What is the
released.
name of the hacker in the core?
Angelina Jolie. Oh no 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 no! I feel
No,
like we're
in the
talking about
core.
like the
Fuck.
oh, the rat. His name in the movie is the rat, but
He was
his
in
name is DJ something, DJ Qualls,
TJ Qualls.
because his name is
That guy,
Donald Joseph Qualls.
I had completely forgotten that he exists until you mentioned the core. And he was in some other awesome movie from the 2000s that I thought was great, but I can't remember what it is.
I don't remember. I
Anyway,
mean,
this is great. We're taking a trip down memory lane.
oh yeah, Clueless. Okay, so we're serious about this.
Yep, it's going to happen. And
So
then, I'm not committing to this, but Jose's other film friends are going to watch Sunshine by Danny Boyle, a personal all-time favorite of mine.
I don't
And
believe
I'm not
that.
even being sarcastic. I fucking love that movie, and I'm going to rewatch it and remember how great it was. So maybe we'll talk about Sunshine in the next podcast in addition to Clueless. It'll be a double feature, Clueless and Sunshine, cinema greats.
Oh God. Okay, okay. Let's do that. Let's just leave that in the air. Another song of his time, another big thing of his time, whatever the time of Sunshine was. It was Danny Boyle time. So you like
I
Danny
think
Boyle?
did he I used to be obsessed with Danny Boyle. Like I genuinely like 28 Days Later. I like that movie Millions, the family friendly one. That was great.
Do you like Transporting?
Um, I I did. I haven't seen it in like 20 years. I would need to go back and rewatch it to remember if I personally like it.
Okay. Because that's
But
another
so what
movie
else
with a
is?
good.
Oh, Single White Female, right?
Oh, he
Didn't he
did
do a
that?
Single White Female? I thought he did.
No. No, that was 1992. That was Barbet Schroeder.
It's weird.
Yeah. No.
Stanley
Uh,
Tucci was in the core.
Stanley Tucci. Who is he?
You know who Stanley Tucci is. He's an awesome actor.
Ah, who was he? Was he the French guy? Oh yeah, I think that he was playing the French guy with a wig. No, he's awesome. Hmm. Uh,
I really want to hold on. I've almost found that DJ Qualls.
oh no, he was the other scientist. That's right. Yeah, sorry. The DJ Qualls
The
was.
new guy. I used to think the new guy was hilarious, and now I can't even remember what it was about. Okay, well, finally,
So
that was
Clueless,
driving me
no?
insane. So Clueless and Sunshine.
Holy shit, man. Holy shit. You're killing me. You're killing me right now. You're ripping me apart, Blake. You're ripping.
I was on a really good roll for like four of my picks were very good movies, and then all of a sudden
Manhunter
it's
happened.
Headhunters, Manhunter.
All the
Clueless.
hunters. No, I mean the funny thing is that we were like just only talking about good movies, I appreciate that we're getting to a point about like it's not only about good movies, it's about like movies that we are interested in watching and discussing without
Yeah,
judgment.
yeah, exactly. Oh,
So,
there's judgment here.
of course,
So
there
much
is.
judgment from your end.
uh, Clueless was in the 90s, Heathers was in the 80s, and Mean Girls was in the 2000s.
Okay,
Was
what's
there a
your point?
2010s? I mean, I wonder what was the one in the tens, in the teens.
If we were in our late and mid 30s in the 2010, so if we were paying attention to the high school movies, that would have been kind of creepy.
That's true, but every single gay person that I know loves Mean Girls. And they were way too old for being
What about
teenagers.
this guy right here?
Don't you what? Don't you like it?
I I do not like it at all. I like to teach you about that movie, and it pains me because I think Tina Fey is fucking hilarious, but that show is awful. It's awful.
Okay.
But
I
you'll
thought it
see
was
why
good.
this week when you see my standard is Clueless, which is a great piece of cinema.
Okay.
You'll understand why I can't like Mean Girls. But I also want to see Heathers. I've never seen it, and I've heard it's good.
I watched it.
I've heard it's good, like Lost Boys is good, and Clueless is good.
I mean, it's yeah, also another big thing of its time, I guess. But you know, it's a movie that is targeted to a different audience. Well, no, it's to gay
And did
people.
you see Little Women?
Yes, I did watch Little Women, the recent
So
version.
you're Clueless. Yeah, yeah,
I also watched Emma. Thank you so much.
yeah.
So I already know what I'm going to watch with Clueless.
Do you have our spreadsheet pulled up?
Yep,
I'm curious what I gave Manhunter.
4.5.
Wow.
Wow, what?
Well, those are the scores. No, I gave Manhunter a 4.5, and I gave this movie a 6.5. It doesn't quite seem right,
You
but
can
I'm not
you
going to
can
change it.
change it. It's like I gave a 5.5 to
No, I'm not
Manhunter,
going to.
and I gave a 5 to this. But yeah, I mean that's the interesting part
See,
when you're
that's
watching.
more congruous.
Well, because I can compare both of them, but when I actually go back to check Mandy, I gave it a 7.5, and I feel like if I were to come back to this movie 10 years in the future, I don't know how I feel about this.
This is why when I was writing about film, I moved away from a point system because it's just like, it's also subjective. What mood am I in that day? What
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty
my
impressed that
office
actually,
job? Am I super pissed off?
but I'm pretty impressed that the New York Times could realize and call themselves out before talking about the Lost Boys and saying like, this is not timeless, this is timely. That's
I
amazing.
was impressed with the review because they're like, look, this is funny, but like the, the mom character is giving the most insultingly stupid lines, and she's like treated as somebody who can't do anything,
Hmm.
and the grandfather also was just a cliche, and I was like, wow, the New York Times, it's
Well,
the shit,
because
man.
it's targeted to
Stick with the
teenagers.
MIT.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's basically targeted to teenagers, so everyone else around the teenagers are stupid. Stupid or evil, one of the two.
Hmm.
So
Which I feel the same way about teenagers today. So
they probably feel the same way about you too,
how could a teenager think I'm evil?
or stupid.
That for sure. I'm sure they do think I'm stupid.
Oh well, this
Mm.
was great.
Good movie pick, Jose.
Yeah,
Good movie pick.
it was an interesting choice. Okay, should we call it then?
Yep.
Okay.
So
Thank you so much for
until
listening,
next time,
folks. Yeah. What
wash
would
your hands.
that's good. Bye.